You know, every single time you go online, you're using this secret, kind of invisible system that guides your every click. It's really the internet's hidden foundation. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see what it is, why it's so incredibly vulnerable, and how the good guys are fighting to protect it.
So when you type in a website and smack that enter key, what actually happens in that split second? Well, I can tell you it's not magic. It's actually a system that was designed over 30 years ago, way back when the internet was a much, much friendlier place. And that age? Well, that's exactly what makes it both totally essential and honestly, dangerously vulnerable. So, let's dig in.
All right, so first things first, let's talk about the fundamental problem this whole system was built to solve in the first place. We got to get a handle on the internet's universal translator, the domain name system, or as you'll hear it, DNS.
To put it super simply, DNS is the phone book for the internet. See, we humans, we remember names, right? Like example.com. But computers, they only speak in numbers, these long strings called IP addresses. DNS is that absolutely essential translator that lets that conversation even happen.
Think about your smartphone's contact list for a sec. You don't have dozens of phone numbers memorized, do you? Of course not. You just tap a name and your phone does the rest. Well, it is the exact same idea online. Your browser doesn't know millions of IP addresses, it just asks DNS to look them up for you.
And that lookup is just an incredible journey, and it happens in a flash. It's this lightning-fast chain of command. Your device asks a local server, hey, got the address for this? If it doesn't know, it asks a root server way at the top of the chain. The root server points it to the .com server, which then points it to the final, authoritative server that holds the answer. It's this whole cascade of questions that gets you the right IP address in, like, the blink of an eye.
But, and this is a big but, here's the catch. DNS was built in an era of trust, assuming everybody on the network was playing nice. And today, well, that trust has become a critical vulnerability. It's made DNS a prime target for attackers who are just looking to cause chaos.
So basically, attackers have three favorite ways to mess with DNS. They either flood it with a ton of junk traffic, they poison it with bad information, or they actually use it as a secret tunnel to steal your data. Let's break down each one.
Let's start with flooding. You've probably heard of it as a distributed denial of service, or DDoS attack. So what is up with this number? 93x. This right here represents the absolutely terrifying power of what's called DNS amplification.
Okay, so here's how it works. An attacker sends a teeny tiny 44-byte query to a public DNS server. But they trick that server into sending back a massive 4,000-byte response. That's nearly a 100-fold amplification. Then, and here's the really clever part, they fake the return address so it looks like it came from their victim. They're effectively weaponizing thousands of innocent DNS servers, turning their own tiny trickle of traffic into an overwhelming fire hose aimed right at their target.
Next up is poisoning, and this one is just so subtle and devious. An attacker tricks a DNS server into storing a fake IP address. So you type in your bank's correct web address, thinking you're being safe. But behind the scenes, that poisoned server sends you to a perfect replica, a fake site run by a hacker designed to steal your password the second you type it in.
And finally, attackers can use DNS to sneak data right out of a secure network. It's a technique called DNS tunneling. And honestly, this quote explains it perfectly. Firewalls, they're built to block big, obvious data transfers, like a locked garage door. But they almost always let tiny little DNS queries pass through. So what do attackers do? They disguise sensitive data, passwords, credit card numbers, as a long stream of innocent-looking DNS traffic, smuggling it out piece by tiny piece.
Okay, so the threats are clearly serious, right? But the good news is the security community has not been sitting idle. They've actually developed a really powerful toolkit to fight back and defend this critical piece of the internet. So let's meet the security team. We can basically think of these key defenses as a security team, and each one has a very specific job. We've got a bouncer to control the crowds, a digital notary to verify everyone's ID, and an intelligent security guard with the list of known troublemakers. So first up, let's meet the bouncer.
First, we have response rate limiting, or RRL. This is our bouncer. If a single IP address starts making an absolutely absurd number of requests, like someone trying to rush the door, RRL steps in and slows them way down. It's basically saying, hey, one at a time. This simple little rule effectively neutralizes those massive DDoS amplification attacks. Next is DNSEC, our digital notary,
And let me tell you, this is a massive upgrade for the entire internet. For decades, DNS just ran on trust. You just had to hope the answer you got was correct. DNSSEC completely changes the game by using cryptographic signatures. You no longer have to trust the answer, you can prove it's authentic and hasn't been messed with. This makes those really dangerous cache poisoning attacks pretty much impossible.
And finally, we have our security guard, Response Policy Zones, or RPZ. Think of this as an intelligent firewall that's constantly getting updated with lists of known bad guys online. So as you can see here, if you accidentally try to visit a known malware domain, RPZ just steps in and blocks the request entirely. It protects you before you ever even connect to the dangerous site.
So what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean for you? Well, it means your personal online safety really depends on these practices being used by every company and every internet provider you rely on. A secure internet is absolutely a team sport.
This checklist, really, it all boils down to a core security philosophy. It's about having dedicated, updated tools and resilient networks so there's no single point of failure. It's all about proactive defense, shutting down avenues for attack, like open recursion, and using threat intelligence to block the villains before they can even get to your door.
And that really leaves us with this final question. Are the services you use every single day taking these steps? You now know what a secure DNS looks like. That invisible system you use every second of every day, it isn't just a phone book. It's a chain of trust that we all depend on, and it's one of the most important and frankly, most overlooked links in securing our entire digital world.